Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for this afternoon session. We're looking at the cash register option in Sage 50 accounts. So it's the cash register within the bank accounts area. So I've reduced the time on this one because it's actually quite a simple option. So originally it was advertised as 45 minutes, but there's no chance that we're going to be anywhere near that unless you've got loads of questions for me today. So I will try and pick those up as we go. So about 30 minutes, I think we should be done. Now, a little bit of housekeeping just before I get started with you all. So you don't need a microphone for these sessions. If it's your first one, you might not be aware of that. If you've got one and you've enabled it, well, you just find it's muted automatically. You can't unmute yourself during a session. Now, that means if you've got any questions, although you can't verbally ask me them, because you won't be able to speak to me, you will be able to pop them into the questions panel. So to access the questions panel, just on your toolbar on the right hand side, just click your little icon, the one that looks like the speech bubble containing a question mark. It'll expand the panel. You'll see the box in the bottom right hand corner, and that's where you can start typing any comments or questions you have. Just myself running the session with you today, so I'll try and pick up as many as I can. I'll possibly run through some additional demos if required as well. I think we'll have a little bit of scope for that as well with the timings. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, they are available as well. There's not a lot of information on them. It's a really simple topic. And if you do want probably the more detailed steps, it is available within our help center. Right, so cash register option, we'll get started. So this is what I'm going to be covering. So a little bit of background as to what the cash register actually is. We'll then run through a basic demonstration. So looking at the nominal codes that you'll need, the settings, how you go about recording till takings. Now, if you've been doing it manually so far, the process is pretty similar. There is a slightly different screen to make just the odd processing option that little bit quicker, but it is very, very similar. So you can do it manually. There is a help article on that as well if you prefer going down that route. But we're going to show you the cash register option, how that actually works. So we'll be recording till takings, mention a little bit about recording expenses as well. And also we're going to be looking at banking your takings as well. So possibly that traditional process at the end of the day, any cash, paying it into the bank, etc. Just at the end, we'll explain more about additional support, maybe give you an idea of some of the upcoming webinars we've got planned in as well. Our timetable currently runs up to the end of September. So you can get yourself booked on those. As normal, you will receive a follow-up email later this afternoon as well, and that will include the links that you need so you can get yourself registered. Or if you do need a bit of a recap on maybe something we've covered today and you just want a bit of a recap of that, or maybe you've missed a session, there's loads of recordings available as well. Somewhere between 80 to 90 recordings available on different topics now, if not possibly even more. So they're accessible at any time. But again, the link will be provided on your follow-up email. As normal, I will try and pick up questions at the end as well if there are any outstanding. So let's talk a little bit about the cash register option. So as I mentioned, I've included both links here as well. So there's the manual till takings option, which I don't really want to run through today. I want to concentrate on the cash register option itself. So the cash register option, it's available within the bank accounts area. And basically you would use it for tracking your cash takings until they're deposited at the bank. So you've got options just to make that process just that little bit easier. Obviously, it does record an option to record discrepancies. So if you come to cash up at the end of the day and there's a difference between what your say your till roll would say, for instance, compared to what receipts or what money you've actually got, there is an option for that. Availability wise, all levels of the software this option is available in. So it doesn't matter whether you're on Essential, Standard, or Professional, you will have this option available to you. Again, the link on that slide to the Cash Register Help Center article if you need it. So what we'll do, we'll just run through some demonstrations just so you can see what we're talking about. So quite an easy topic. So again, any questions along the way, anything you're not sure about, or if you get confused by anything, let me know. Right, I'll share my screen and we'll get stuck into a bit of a demonstration. Now, the first thing to quickly mention before you go about dealing with the cash register is that you've got the relevant nominal codes set up. Now, if you're using the default list of nominal codes and bank accounts, then these will already be set up for you. So the first one you'll see within the bank accounts list, and it's actually just called cash register. So by default, it's bank account 1235. Now you can change the setting in the background to be a different bank account, but we'll come back to that one in a moment. But that's the default one, and that will be flagged as the cash register. And it's specifically, it's a setting to flag that one as a cash register rather than it just being called cash register. Obviously, for consistency, it's called cash register. So that's one. The other one you'll need, and this might be something you've set up yourself as well, even if you've been just doing it manually, and it's a cash register discrepancies. Now, by default, it'll be way down the list. So it normally appear in your overhead section. So by default, nominal 8206. So cash register discrepancies. So that's all you need. Just need to make sure those two are set up. Now, if you haven't got those set up or you want to use different nominal codes, maybe you've redesigned your nominal ledger, you can do that. And that's what we're going to look at next. So for the cash register option, there are some settings for that one, which you'll find by going into settings and then down to bank defaults. And it's this section here that we're interested in. So first of all, you've got the bank account. So as I mentioned, 1235 by default. You've got a sales nominal code. Now it will pick up this nominal code, the sales nominal code by default, similar for the tax code as well, but you will be able to override those at the point of entry. So it's a bit like if you were doing a bank receipt within the bank accounts area. It'll pick up certain nominal codes and tax codes by default, but you will be able to change it. So whatever you would most commonly use, make sure it's set to that. Might just save you a few clicks here and there and just speed up the process just that little bit more for you. The other one is the discrepancies nominal code. So that 8206 that we were just talking about, the one that's in your overhead section by default of your nominal codes, just make sure that's got a setting there as well. So those are the default settings. So 1235 is your bank account, sales nominal 4,000, T1 for your tax code. Obviously, if you're based in Ireland, it's going to have your appropriate VAT rate in there. But if you've got your relevant VAT rate and you need to change it, again, you can just choose it from your drop down. And then your discrepancies. And this one will not be selected by default. That might be something that you do switch on once you start using it. Just making it that little bit quicker to enter your information. So when you're entering the information, are you wanting to enter the gross value, or are you wanting to enter the net value? So that will determine that. It's not selected by default, so that when we do enter them, and you'll see this in just a moment, when we enter our daily takings, you'll see it will give us the net VAT breakdown. So we'll just OK that. So those are your settings. Everything should really be set up for you. There's nothing really additionally that you need to enter. So what we'll do next is we'll just record some till takings using the cash register option. Now the option itself you'll find within bank accounts, and there's two options that we're going to be looking at today, the cash register and the deposit cash. So the two go hand in hand. So cash register is for recording essentially your daily takings. So let's say we get to the end of day one, we want to record some takings. So we're in bank accounts. It doesn't matter at this stage which bank account I've got selected because we've got that specified in advance. Now you can only have one bank account which is flagged as the cash register, something to be aware of. So anyway, we'll just leave it selected by default and click cash register. You can see it defaults up here to 1235. So even if I'd had selected a different one and I go into cash register, you'll see it still picks up the right bank account for me. You see it's all already pre-populated the nominal code for me as well. Anyway, so bank accounts, cash register. Oh, I've just deleted today's date. So let's pop that back in. We'll just use today's date. Reference, we'll just call it sales. Extra reference, I am going to ignore the extra reference. It's the kind of thing that for consistency it's there. So you might want to use it. Just gives you that extra bit of, I suppose, that extra field to record in more information if required. But I'm just going to put reference sales and extra reference. I'll just leave blank. Now, when it comes to nominal codes, just as normal, it's really personal preference. How do you want to break down your sales? So if you are, I don't know, let's say a cafe, for instance, do you do food sales, drink sales? You might not want to break it down at all. There may be different product ranges you sell. So it's up to you how you want to break that down, if at all. So it's picked up that nominal 4,000. Obviously, if I did need to change it, I'll just click on the drop down. You can see I've got just the default one set up, sales type A, B, C. So I'll just leave it set to 4,000 for the time being. I'm going to ignore the department. Now, when you look at this screen, you'll probably think it's very similar to a bank receipt screen. Yeah, it basically asks you for the same information. Now, the only thing that's really any different is this method. So how did you record the daily takings? Was it in the form of cash? Was it a check received, card? Or essentially was it an online payment? So someone's paid you via bank transfer. Now let's say it is cash. We'll just say details, we'll just put sales in there as well. And because I didn't tick that little checkbox within the settings bank defaults area, it's going to ask me now for the net value and also the tax code. It's going to show me the tax as well. I'll show you what that looks like a little bit later on if I was to tick that box. Now in the details, of course, you can put as much detail as you want. So I'm just going to say, right, it was, let's say £22 in. Now let's say that was in total. Now let's say that included VAT, and that may be where I would go back and say I would go and tick that box so that I just key in the £22. Depends where you're getting that information from. If it's more of like a till row where you're running out totals, etc., then you may find it easier just to key in the gross amount. You can, of course, if that is the gross amount you're keying in, even with it set up the way I've got it set up, you've got the option to click calculate net or just press F9 on your keyboard while you're within that net field. And it will work out the net VAT breakdown. So still £22 in total, but it's worked out the net and the tax for me based on that tax code of T1. Now, if there was an additional breakdown to put in, we can do that as well. Now, F6 is good key to remember. Copies the information, whatever's in the box above, it copies it down for you. So we'll just press F6, whatever's in the, as I say, whatever's in the box, it copies it down and moves it to the next field. You can also do Shift and F6 as well. So if I hold down the Shift key and press F6, whatever's in the box above, it'll increment that by 1. Similar if I was in the date field, for instance, Shift and F6, it will go to the next date, as it were. But I'll just change that back so it's all today's date. We'll say sales. I'll change the nominal code, and what I'll also do is I'll change the method as well to say I've received checks over the course of the day for sales, and we'll say what's I'm going to say for this one? Let's just say it was £10 as an example. We'll say that calculate net on that one as well. So £10 in total in the form of checks. Now we'll do one last one. Pretty much choose the same information. I'll choose a different nominal code though, just so we got that little bit of where it's a little bit different. And I'm going to say this one was card payment. Again, I'll just say sales, and we'll say I've taken, say, £50 plus VAT on that one. So what we've done over the course of the days, we've got cash receipts of essentially £22, check receipts adding up to £10, and we got £60 worth of card payments as well. Now I'm going to ignore the discrepancy option at the bottom for now, and we'll just click save. So we're going to say, right, the cash, the check, the card payments, when we've added that up, it agrees with what agrees with what the till says, for instance. We'll just save it. And that's it done. Now, if we just pop into transactions, you'll see it actually posts as bank receipts. So we got the 3 there. And just looks like we've just recorded bank receipts. So if you didn't want to use the cash register option, or maybe you've got a few cash registers, but because you can only flag one of them as an actual cash register, then you could just record receipts in your software. So within bank accounts, choosing bank receipts. So we've got 3 BR transactions for those sales that we've put. So you'll see they're automatically posted to the relevant bank account, 1235, and the relevant nominal codes that we've chosen as well. Any questions so far? As I say, we should have plenty of time to essentially cover everything we need to. It's a very simple topic, this one. What we'll do now then, we'll say we want to bank that, the daily takings. Now, if we go into within bank accounts, we want to go into deposit cash. So you can see we've got £92 in total currently in the cash register. And let's say we're going to bank all of that. So with that account selected, if we go into deposit cash, it will list the daily takings, so those individual items that are listed there. It's got the dates on there, the transaction types, the references, X reference if we use it, the details, and also whether it's a payment or a receipt. Now let's say all of that has essentially been paid into the bank. So I'll just select the transactions. So it's almost like a mini reconciliation against your till roll, for instance. So select the transactions that you're essentially banking. Float adjustment, I'll come back to that one a little bit later on. We'll just leave it set to 0 for the time being. And I'm going to click save. And that's essentially it done. Now, you see the cash register back to 0. We've now got £92 in total recorded against our main bank account. And if we just pop into transactions, you can see what it's done is equivalent of a bank transfer. So again, if you were doing it manually and you wanted to show the building up of the money against a till account or a cash register account, when that money is essentially banked, it would just be a bank transfer from your till or cash register account across to, say, your current account, just to reflect the fact that you've done that. So nice and straightforward. Again, any questions, keep them coming. Quick question from Joanne there. Just to confirm the settings again, it was within settings and then bank defaults. So it was this section here there, Joanne, cash register settings. Right, let's move on to, let's say, day 2. Now, this time, just to make things a little bit simpler, what I'm going to do is I'm going to amend my settings. So this is where I'm going to say my takings are VAT inclusive. So if I go back to settings and bank defaults, I'm going to tick this little box this time to say takings are VAT inclusive. And you'll see the little change it makes when we go in to record those takings. So back to bank accounts, cash register, you'll see now we've got a gross column, we've got the tax code, but we no longer have the net and the VAT breakdown. So again, I'll just use today's date. I'll say, let's say day 2. We'll say cash again, just say sales, and we'll say, let's say £20 in total. So we're entering the gross value, and we're going to say that was chargeable. We charged VAT at the rate of T1, whatever our standard rate is. Similar option, so F6, F6, I'll change the nominal code on this one as well. I'll change the method as well. Just say sales, we'll say that was £30 this time. I can change the tax code if required, but I'll just leave it set to T1. And then the final one, change the nominal code one last time. Again, I'll use one of the other options. So we'll just say card. I'll just say sales again. Again, you could be very descriptive in the details if needed, and we'll say £50. So again, I'm entering the gross values. And I'll save it. Again, that's it done. So nice and straightforward. Transaction-wise, again, still bank receipts. Obviously, now when we're within the transaction screen, we can see the breakdown between net and tax if needed. But it works in pretty much the same way. So if we go into bank accounts, into deposit cash, the 3 transactions that literally we've entered for day 2, they are listed. So I would select the ones that I want to bank. Now I don't have to do all of those. So if you've been really descriptive and you put like sales, cash, sales checks, for instance, you may have paid the checks in, but maybe you've withheld the cash. So you could choose the ones essentially that you want to say, right, well, I've processed those. Save it. And again, that's it done. So really straightforward to record those. Now the 2 subtle differences that are the 2 advantages you have are both processing it manually. One is held within the deposit cash area. So I'll record another set of, not deposit cash, I want to cover cash register first. First one is within the cash register. So we'll say day 3. And we'll say it was £100 that we've taken in total. But actually, when we've totted up the cash that we've got, we're going to say we've only got £95. So there's an actual discrepancy there. So I'm going to say there's a shortfall of £5. That's usually today's date as well. And I'll just OK that. So we want to record sales of 100, but actually in our till at the moment, we're down by £5. Obviously, you can put a positive in as well. Maybe your till's up, or sorry, your cash may be up. So maybe you've just forgot to record the detail of a sale during the day. So you've received the money, but actually you haven't recorded the detail of the sale itself. So I'm just going to save that. I'll close out, let you have a look in transactions again, so you can see what's happened. So there's the sale we've just recorded. And then we've got the journal, which posts between the bank account, so the cash register bank account that we got set up, and the cash register discrepancies nominal code. So that liability, the overheads account that we looked at earlier. Now, what that will mean is when we go into bank accounts, is that in the cash register, we've got £95 in total. So essentially in our accounts, we've recorded the £100 as income, but we've also shown we need to record that shortfall for that discrepancy. So it's done it automatically. Now, the other option you've got that's slightly different is when you come into deposit cash. So it lists the transactions. So you would select the ones that essentially you want to process. So we're going to say these both of them. So we've got £95 in total that we're wanting to essentially transfer across. And we've also got this float adjustment option. So this is the other difference. Excuse me. So this enables you. So let's say we got £95 in cash. It's these two transactions. And let's say I want to say, right, I want to pay that into the bank, but actually I'm going to hold some money back. So float adjustment, I want to increase my cash float. So let's say I'm going to increase my cash float by £15. So I want to hold essentially £15 of it back, whatever I've got. So I just okay that. It's got the £15 in there. Obviously that could be a negative as well if maybe I've got a previous cash flow that I want to start reducing. And then I would just click save. So my deposit total is going to be £80. Save it. And again, that's it done. So we're left with, in this case, the £15 in the cash register. And again, if we have a look at transactions, we've got that journal equivalent of that bank transfer for the amount that we've essentially paid into the bank. Now that's the cash register in a nutshell. It's not a massively used area of the software. You've got a few advantages over processing it manually. If you are doing it manually today, currently, then you would just need to decide whether it is beneficial using that or not for you, or maybe just sticking with the method you're already using. Now, there are a couple of limitations on the cash register. So one is that when you go into the bank accounts area, you'll see if we go into the bank record itself, that any record that is flagged as being the cash register, this no bank reconciliation option will be essentially enabled and it's grayed out. We often find it's quite a common query where people aren't aware of the cash register, and what they go and do is rename that account and start using it for something else, and then they'll say, right, well, I need to be able to reconcile that account. You can't reconcile an account if it is flagged as the cash register. So that would mean setting up an alternative account to use, and then again going into settings, bank defaults, and switching the setting across so that your other account would become the essentially the cash register when it's flagged. Other restriction as well is you can only flag an account as being your cash register if you are using the foreign trader option. It's got to use your base currency. So whatever you've got your base currency set to, so if you're in Ireland, going to be the euro. If you're in UK, probably going to be pound sterling. So if you've enabled foreign trade and you have set up a foreign currency bank account, you cannot flag that one as a cash register account. It won't let you do that. But that's really those are the only restrictions on that. Now, paying expenses out of your cash register, so this account, just like any other bank account when it comes to that. So if I wanted to make a payment of £10 out of the cash register for whatever reason, let's say I bought some stationery, for instance, it's no different to normal. So I can use it to pay a supplier, I can show a customer receipt coming into this cash register, but I need to do that manually. The cash register option itself to bring money in will only be for an equivalent of posting bank receipts. But let's say I wanted to record an expense, we'll just do it as a straightforward bank payment. Make sure we got the right bank selected this time because we've gone into the bank payments area. I'll just put PYT for payment. Choose a relevant nominal code. What should we use? Let's just say I bought some fuel as an example. And let's put fuel, might just be a top up this one. So we'll say, let's say it was £10 in total that we've popped in. So not get us very far these days, £10, but there you go. So we put £10 in, we've used calculate net, £10 in total, save that transaction. And again, just like any other bank account, nice and easy to record that. So that's basically the cash register in a nutshell. Now, if you do have any questions, let me know. I can run additional demos as well if needed, but just bring us to the end of the demos. So as I promised, around about half an hour, more than enough time to run through that for you, I think. Any questions, or pop them in there, and I'll try and pick them up in just a minute. Again, if you want a copy of today's slides, as you've seen, not much information on them because it's quite a simple topic, and if needed, the steps are available from our help centre. To give you an idea of maybe some of the upcoming webinars we got booked in, improved bank feeds in version 29.2. If you are using bank feeds currently, version 29.2 has started to be rolled out now. So watch out for emails and in-product messages coming up to say it's now available to download. So we've improved bank feeds, or at least we think we have. So looks a little bit different. You've got some additional benefits in using the new bank feeds option in version 29.2. So if you want to come along and see a demonstration of that one, I think we've got a session tomorrow morning on that one, just at 11 o'clock. So please get yourself signed up. There are other dates available as well. As normal, links to register for webinars, they will be included on your follow-up email, which you receive in around about an hour or so's time. A couple of other webinars to quickly mention. So stripping back a little bit on our introduction to the report designer, we're going to run some quick learns or shorter webinar sessions on little aspects of using the report designer to amend your invoice layout. So next week, I think we start with how you go about adding logos. I think the week after, adding payment terms to your invoices. We're also running some other sessions as well. So if you email out your invoices, how can you make it easier to get paid? So there's a couple of services that we do offer. A PO, formerly called Sage Pay. So we'll be running a demo on that one, and you can see how that one works. So when you email out your invoices, you can include a Pay Now button on that one. Your customer clicks it, pays you online, and then that information will download into your accounts automatically. Similar option for invoice payments. Invoice payments is done via integration with either Stripe or PayPal. Those are two separate sessions, so we will be running those over the next couple of weeks. And also we'll be running some short sessions on importing as well. So we got one on importing customer records and also one on importing product records. Now, if you start to sell new product ranges, often when you have new product ranges, importing can be a big time saver. So rather than type in similar, I always use the example of clothing as an example. Let's say you were selling t-shirts as an example. If you, rather than set up a record for a black t-shirt, a white t-shirt, blue t-shirt, etc., and then setting one up for each size as well, you could pop them all onto the import template, easily copy that information between different lines, make your minor adjustments to the various records that you need to import, and then import that information a lot quicker than sitting there keying that in. So if you are interested, watch out for your follow-up email. It'll include the links that you need, and we're currently running up to the end of September for bookings. Right, as I suspected, I haven't had any questions. As I say, really simple topic, hopefully. If you think of anything afterwards, do check the information in the help centre though. And let me just quickly thank you for your time. Hope you've enjoyed it, found it useful. Even if for some it'll be, you might just be getting that reassurance about how an option works. Should you be using it, should you not? At least if you know now, you can make that decision. Little survey will pop up as you leave the session today, as normal. If you can take a minute to complete that, let us know what you thought about the webinar. Share any thoughts, ideas that you have with us for topics you'd like to see going forward as well. That'd be really appreciated. And your follow-up email. So registering for live webinars and accessing recordings, that should be with you in around about an hour's time. Okay, if there aren't any additional questions, what we'll do is we'll just end the webinar at that point. Take care, stay safe, and hopefully I'll see you on some other webinars soon. Many thanks.